Hello, everybody, and welcome to Firebase After Hours. Today, we will be talking about AI Studio and Firebase, and we can't do it without our special guests. So we'll have Luke Schlangen and Melissa Lopez-Tessler, and we also have my favorite co-host. But before I bring all of those people in, let me do the spiel that we always have to do. I'll need to remind you that this is a public live stream, so it is live on the internet, and that means let's be nice to each other and let's be excellent to each other. If you want to chat with us, you can do so on the live stream, which is, which way? This way, I think. So it's one way or the other. So you can use that. Send your messages there. You can also use the emojis and the heart and the amazing icon if you feel like that. And we will try to answer your questions. So let's keep it interactive, but also let's keep it civil. If you don't like anything, then reach out to us personally. And with that, let me bring in my favorite co-host, Noe. And there
Marina,
he is.
you heard that, right? I am his favorite co-host. Well, anyways, how you doing, Peter?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm doing well. And well, mostly. So I hurt my finger, but it's no longer hurting.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Wow.
I closed the door on my car and I was like, well, usually it doesn't hurt that much.
Why would you do that?
Because so it was funny because literally
you closed the door on your own finger.
2 minutes before that, I was thinking, well, yeah, I should try to be more in the moment. At that moment, I really was in the moment because I was like, oh, that hurts. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds rough. I'm sorry about that.
Oh yeah, it's okay now. Should we bring in the guests?
Yeah, because I didn't read my email and they just kind of showed up in the waiting room and I'm not really sure why they're here.
Yeah, let's bring them in. So here they are. Here are Luke.
No, Marina. Yeah, no, it's true. He did say that. He did say it. I think he was just trying to be nice. It was like kind of an intro thing, but yeah, he did use those words. Yeah, okay, we're on now, so I'm going to go. Okay, bye. She's very hurt.
Ring. Oh,
very hurt.
That's on silent.
Oh my God. Who needs enemies if they have colleagues like that? It's so good to see you guys. And
thanks for inviting me back. I didn't know if that would happen after what happened 2 weeks ago. So glad to be back. Glad to be back.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're here. Who let you in?
So maybe for those of you who haven't been here last time and who might not have seen the Firebase videos that we did before, so maybe we can do a quick round of intros. Melissa, do you want to start and just say who you are, what you do, and what's your favorite dessert?
Oh, wow. Great question for me. Well, hello. This is my living room debut on the Firebase channel. Usually I'm in the studio doing recordings. But I'm Melissa. I'm a software engineer over on Firebase. Been on Firebase like 7-ish years at this point. Really excited to be here and talk about our latest launch. My favorite dessert, I really like Queen-Amon. Do you guys know what that is? Mini Queen-Amon, especially. It's like a laminated, like sweetened pastry. It's like, imagine a croissant, but it's like sweet and caramelly too. They're extremely finicky to make, but incredibly rewarding. If you ever see a Queen-Amon, get it. Delicious.
Nice. Sounds like something I want to try.
Yeah, I have no idea how I would spell that, but I'm hoping that Google can help me figure it out. I'm Luke. I'm DevRel here at Firebase and at Google Cloud. And really what I do with my time is try and find more excuses to hang out on the Firebase channel. So excited to be back.
Nice.
And favorite dessert is brownie. I'm very, very basic, just chocolate. And the more chocolate I can get is just
nice.
Terrific.
Yeah. Love it. Noe? Everybody knows you.
Yeah.
But what's your favorite dessert?
The same thing that a mouse wants on its birthday. Cheesecake.
Ooh. Yeah, nice. Love it.
Yeah.
My favorite dessert, I think, must be pastel de nata, because it's, I love vanilla and, I love a croissant, and it feels like a really nice combination of both.
Can you describe that in more detail? Because when you say that, I'm thinking like vanilla ice cream next to a croissant.
Oh no, so it's those tiny mini tartlets that you get in Portugal. I mean, you get them anywhere, but everywhere now, but they're from Portugal.
Not here. I've never I've never heard of that.
Well, yeah, come to London one time, and then I'll show you the store that makes probably the best pastel de nata outside of Lisbon.
Okay, yeah,
that's just my personal opinion. So people can find me on the stream, but be nice, be nice. All right, so we're not here to talk about desserts, not just about desserts. We're here to talk about AI Studio and Firebase, which is one of our most recent launches, and I am super excited about it. I've played around with it a bunch, and I've built a couple of really fun applications using it. So maybe Luke or Melissa, who wants to give the 1 minute or half a minute elevator pitch to explain what it is and why it's so exciting?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Melissa, again, can take the hard questions like Joe did for me 2 weeks ago, but I'll do the easy part. So AI Studio and Firebase is essentially AI Studio, which hopefully folks have given a try. You can go on there and quickly have Gemini spin up an app for you. And if you have an app idea that maybe you haven't had a chance to plug into AI Studio, but you want to do it on our tokens, feel free to drop that in the chat. We would love to get your ideas and not just create the ones that we're coming up with or have ready. But if you have specific ideas for what we should build today, please do let us know in the chat. But the big news is not that AI Studio exists, because that's been true for a while, but now you have a database behind that. And for those who are maybe builders or are vibe coders and are newer to the development space, having an actual database behind your application is huge. So the idea is that will not shut down on you. The data won't disappear on you. If you come back 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, that data will still be there. You can switch to another device and your data will still be there. And also with Firestore being added, Firestore is the database that we're adding, but Firebase Auth has also been added. And that means literally if you switch devices and you log in with the same Google account, AI Studio can now recognize your content across those different environments, which I think is just the coolest part. The fact that you can log in on one machine and then fly to a different state. I'm headed to Orlando on vacation with my family tomorrow, and I'll still be able to use the same exact application if I log in with a different machine. So that is what I'm most excited about, is having that like true full stack application that I can now create and spin up in AI Studio.
That's amazing. And so it also means that you'll be able to connect another application to the same database, right? So if you build an application in AI Studio today, and then you want to build an Android application, for example, you can do so, hook it up to the same database, same data will be there. User can sign in using their Google account or email and password, and then same data is there, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so I don't know if we still call Firebase a backend as a service. Is that still a term that we use sometimes?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
But yeah, essentially, like you've got the data is there in Firestore. You can just call it directly from the client, depending on your read rules and the permissions you have set up. So yes, you could add more client views to that as well, more UIs.
Yeah.
All right.
Live question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What about storage? Do we have storage? Not just database storage, but storage, like file storage?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
That's all I'll say.
No comment. No comment. He's trying to get us in trouble today. We are not falling for that. We did also notice in the chat a few folks were like, hey, it doesn't quite have this feature yet, or it can't do this thing for me yet. Please let us know what those specific features are, because we know some people who might be able to make it happen. So please do drop those in the chat. Let us know what those things are that you are interested in. And Melissa, we have all talked way too much, and you're the person who actually knows things. So what did we miss? What did we forget?
Well, I get the really fun part of just getting to show you it in action. But yeah, you hit on exactly what I care most about people getting out of this, which is it's easier than ever. to build a web app with Firebase, Firestore, and with Auth. It really just it's just simple prompting, maybe a couple clicks here and there, and then boom, you have something that you're ready to share with the world. So yeah, hoping by the end of this, you'll get to see just how easy it is, and hopefully go try it for yourself.
So should we do a demo to show how easy it actually is?
Absolutely. Okay, so let me get this going here. I'm going to start from the very, very beginning and assume you've never used this before. But this is the AI Studio build mode. AI Studio has like a few different modes. It has like a playground mode, especially for just like experimenting with, you hear, oh, like the latest Google model is out. I want to go try like the latest Nano Banana. There's like a version of AI Studio, a mode of AI Studio for doing that. But this is AI Studio /apps. And this is where you have the vibe coding builder. So when you want to get started with Firebase, there's a few different ways that you can do it. So here, I'm just in the prompt box telling it what I want to start vibe coding. So in this case, I have make me a reading tracking app with user login to secure personal data. I want a habit tracking widget to track every day that I've read and log where I can write a short review about the book. Cool.
Ooh, that sounds like a good read app.
Yeah.
So,
I could use
Melissa,
it.
can I ask you a quick question? If
Yes,
you
you can.
design, if you hit like build and you have like an idea of how you want this to look, are you able to insert like a Google slide or something to say like, oh, I have this like vision of what I want it to look like? Ooh.
Yeah, there's a few different things that you can seed it with. So you can seed in any files that you have in your Google Drive. You can upload some files in here as well. If you want it to like be doing something with a camera, a picture you're just taking on your camera, you can do that too. So as much as you want to seed it with, you can. I personally, I like to start small. I like to build as I go along, much like, just how you're coding in everyday life. I kind of want to get like my proof of concept together, and then I want to like add more and more features. But if you already know and like you have a look and feel you're going for from the get-go, yeah, sure, put it in here. Another good technique people do is they'll even like go into like standard old Gemini and ask like, oh, here's my idea for like an app. Can you like turn this into a good prompt for like a vibe coding app for AI Studio? And then that'll maybe give you something that the agent's even more receptive to. So that's one thing.
That's something I learned. Yeah, I'm terrible at prompting models. So I asked the model to prompt the model for me.
Yeah. Works great. It's so simple. It's genius, Okay, so if I just click build right now, something will get going. And there's a really good chance that the agent is already actually going to know that I want Firebase, because I specifically am saying I want user login and I want it, some tracking stuff. It knows that I want to persist data. If I want to be super sure that it's going to use Firebase, I can literally tell it, use Firebase. It'll set up Firestore and Auth for me. The other option is you can see there's these like little chips down here at the bottom. And these are like just ways to quickly tell the agent that you want certain features in it. So for example, if you want to add voice conversations and Google search data, whatever, not necessarily relevant to my app right now, but this very first one, you might recognize this little logo here, add database and Auth. This will tell it immediately that you want Firestore and Auth with Firebase. So I'm going to kick this one off and start building it. And then as you know, there's going to be a little bake time. Just a little bit. But one of the first things it's going to do is the agent's figuring out that it needs Firebase. And it's going to want you to confirm some stuff. So just while that one's baking, after like the very first bake, you should see something like this. Oops, I don't need that one uncollapsed. But you'll see like this prompt basically saying like, oh, hey, we see that you like want Firebase. And I can just click enable. You can see some of the things that you get with it. If you care about the region that your data is in, this is very important to some of our users. This is the point at which you'd be able to configure that. You click enable, and then the agent's going to keep going and do Firebase stuff for you. So that one is baking for a little bit. Any questions or thoughts before I maybe show another thing? I can pause here.
I've got one quick question here. So let's assume that I'm building multiple applications, right? So we're building this one here, and then maybe I build another one, for example, for meal tracking, and another one for my steps that I want to track. So I've got 3 apps now. Do these live in different Firebase projects?
Yeah, that's a really great question. By default, we are trying our best in AI Studio to put all of your cloud stuff in the same project, basically. However, that is kind of up to you if you actually want that, though. There is an option for being able to tell Firebase which project you want to use up front. We have it documented in our docs. This is an experience that, spoiler alert, we're hoping will get better very soon. But right now, at the point of prompt where I was like, oh, this is the app I want, use Firebase. You could also say use Firebase and use like this specific project ID, and it'll configure it in that project. So that's kind of like tiny bit of like workaround at the moment. We're hoping that experience will get better soon and make it a little bit easier to pick your project.
So if I don't have a project yet, but I want my app to live in a separate project, could I just make up a project name on the fly and say, put it into Peter Freeze's amazing project?
Very soon you'll be able to have something that's better like that.
Nice. Okay, cool. I'll be patient then.
So, maybe I could say put it in Peter Freeze's project.
That would probably work.
Very soon, Noe.
You won't be importantly, you won't be able to, if you try to put it into a random project you have no business having access to, things are not going to work. And that would be working as intended. We don't want you to be able to provision stuff into somebody else's project.
Yep, for sure.
Okay. One question is AI Studio using the Firebase MCP server, or is there like a different integration going on here?
Right now it's a different integration. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
But who knows? The future is broad, and there's a lot there. So this is just like V1, honestly, of like Firebase's presence in AI Studio. So yeah, we'll let you know how that continues to evolve. One thing I did want to show here, so this is one that is has been baking. If I go and view more details here, like show details as the agent is working, you're going to see a ton of stuff. You're going to see actually like sub-steps where the agent maybe even failed and all kinds of things. But it can give you an idea of what it looks like when it actually starts setting up Firebase. So here you can see this like setup Firebase step was performed. If I go to open Firebase console, this is now my like provisioned Firestore in the console. I didn't have to do anything in the console myself. It gave all of this for me automatically. Same with like your auth client was also provisioned. As if you scroll down, another thing you can see as well, it edited Firestore rules and it also deployed them for you. So if I go back to the console and I go to security, I see like tailor-made rules for this specific like app use case. And if you ever edit the rule, have the agent edit rules for you, again, as you're iterating on the app, they'll just get redeployed for you. So you don't have to be in the console. The console is a great tool. I like going back and forth to just kind of like validate that what I think is going on is actually happening and things are persisting as expected. But you absolutely don't have to do that. It's nice for validation, but not strictly necessary for the workflow. The agent knows how to keep everything going for you.
That's actually one thing I really like about AI with like Firestore rules is that it does type validation as well. So like you can't, there's more rules for rules that I didn't realize existed at one point, right? So like I didn't realize you could like be like, oh, is this a string? Is this a number between like 6 and 1 million? And so on and so forth. So I think that's really cool that you could do that type of validation with AI Studio for your Firestore rules to give it some grounded, no, we can't just let anybody named Luke create an app in our app or create an account, right? Like some way to like block people from picking out a username Luke.
Yeah, especially
it's a little targeted, but yes,
just a good example
in this hypothetical possible. Yes,
in this hypothetical, yeah. I mean, we should rebuild our streaming platform.
All right, I'm not going to make us stare at this one that's baking forever. But here's like another one that I ran earlier. I believe this was with the exact same prompt. And just to keep me honest, there was no like follow-up prompting here. So I accepted the Firebase like pop-up that came up. You can see though, transparently, the agent actually did fail to like do some things apparently. But the nice thing is the details actually don't necessarily matter to me because in the end, it did what I wanted it to do. And so that's kind of one of the nice things about like how just like smart these agents are. Like, yeah, they run into some hiccups and some roadblocks sometimes, but they're actually pretty good at self-correcting after those like issues. So even after that, I still was able to end up with this like reading tracker. So I logged in, I think, already in this case. Here's how it is having me, say that, log my I read today tracking, and it's today, like today's March 26th. So I think this is showing like the last 30 days. That's kind of neat. This seems like it probably needs to be updated, right? This looks like it's like static. I don't have any streak right now. So probably a thing I'd follow up with the agent on to correct. And then adding a review here. Let's say, I don't know, my cool book. I can't think of books, even though I have plenty of them over here. I swear I've read some of them. I read it. It was great. And let's see how it does on the first try here. Okay, cool. It looks like I don't see any errors. It looks like it's there. Is it really there? This is where I can go and check the database. So let me go into here. I'm going to do the same thing. Go to this like Firebase console link. It should take me straight to this database.
Yeah, so just to slow things down for folks, because this is happening so fast, and it's truly like kind of unbelievable how quickly you're able to. I don't know if others have felt this, but I feel like whenever I'm onboarded onto a new project, the first 2 weeks is like, get the database connection string and like get connected to the database. And like here, you've created a database, you've connected to it, you've added data to it, and then you've already got that here saving. And if you were to refresh your app, or if you change the data, is it already doing the live updates, or is it pulling, like this is an implementation detail, but I'm very curious if you like change the book title here.
Oh, right in the console, the Firebase console.
Test it.
And then you give it a real book name, like the Peter Freeze iOS book.
Yeah,
doesn't exist.
Let's actually see. Let's see how it did with that. So I here updated it manually in the console. My cool book updated. Would you look at that?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah, super cool. And yeah, I know I'm going through this really fast, but that's kind of my point, is like to show you just how quick it is to get to something that works. And this is how it did on the first try. Are there things that the agent could have done to like get this a little bit better? Sure, but that's what like we're there for, to like continue going in and iterating, right? So yeah, no, there's the first kind of just end to end, and then the very quick way to share. There's one very quick way that you can share here is you can make your app like public. I do recommend looking at this like tooltip though in AI Studio to know exactly what it means when you share the AI Studio app itself. It gives anybody who has access to that link the ability to remix your app or like fork it, make a copy of it. Your chat history remains totally private. They won't be able to see that, but the code is visible to others. So think about whether that matters to you, and especially the things that you have in that code. Your Gemini API key is not shared. And then there's kind of a note here about secrets as well. But if I want to like share this with you really quick, like, Noe, Luke, or Peter, I'd probably just this one, there's not too much going on here. I'll maybe make this one public, and then I can share this link with you. And then you can make your own profile and use it for yourself. So this is like an example of a kind of personal data. I log in, I see my own stuff app. Simple. But there's so much more you can do with Firestore.
About the sharing, can I go first?
Yeah, you go first.
So about the sharing feature and the remixing, what happens if I remix the app myself? Will I still lose my chat history? Am I just being treated as like anybody else?
You would be, yeah. So you wouldn't see the, I can show you what that looks like really quickly right now. You just have this dialog, you can change the metadata if you want, you click apply, and you'll see here, it immediately knows that it uses Firebase, actually, what you're trying to remix. I can choose to get that set up right away. But you can see there's basically a completely fresh chat history. It started with remixed, knowing that it needed to set up Firebase, and now that's getting kickstarted. So like a new environment's being provisioned, the code was copied over, and now, as you can see, it's doing like that Firebase provisioning for Auth and Firestore. But yeah, that's how that looks.
And I think that's a good call out. So here, you don't have the data, right? Because you're creating a new application, you're creating a new Firestore database. So when you do remix, if you're hoping to get all of the data to come along with it, that will not happen for you. You're going to have to repopulate the database with your own data, because what you're copying is the app, not the database.
Yeah, Correct.
I think Noe was going to ask between share and publish.
Yeah. What is publish?
Yeah, really great question. So I have actually another app that I can show you, but first I'll show you from this one that is starting like from scratch. And so this is the one we've been working on together so far. What does publishing look like? Publish here in this context is actually publishing to Cloud Run. So if you have a Google Cloud project here, which you will, generally this is like, there's some nuance here, but you generally should have a project here by default. If you do not, very easy to either import an existing project or create a new GCP project. Details don't necessarily important at the moment, but you can pick the project and basically just publish right away. One of the requirements here is I believe it requires a billing instrument, and I happen to already have one attached to this project. But then this will kind of just get going, and I guess we'll see. It says it might take a couple of minutes. I can show you an example of what that looks like when it is done. Let's see, which app do I have that has that? I do have one. Oh, it might be actually just this one over here. So yeah, this is another one I have. The app is paused, so we won't look at it too much yet, but I believe this one I had published. Oh yeah, see, okay. So once you have it actually like successfully published, this is what it'll look like. Very simple. It gives you this URL. If you're familiar with Cloud Run, this like region.run.app at the end might look familiar to you. And it's really straightforward. You just open the app. So this one's actually a game with a public leaderboard, which is fun. But yeah, we can get into that in a sec. And whenever you want to republish, you can put that here. The main benefit of publishing versus just sharing the applet is like, one, if you don't want to share the code, first of all. But the second thing is if you are sharing just with those like quick links that I show, if the app hasn't been opened in a while, there's some kind of like reprovisioning that needs to be happening on demand. So there might be some load time before the user can actually pull it up. Whereas here, the app was on Cloud Run, it's like ready to go immediately when a user opens the link. So kind of different phases of like kind of maturity and sharing, I would say.
Yeah. So the share would allow me to share the app as it is, but they would not have access to the Firebase backend that I'm using, or they would have access to the Firebase backend?
They would, if you share, they are using, they have access to the same backend. So they will see the same data. So that is like a quick way to like, I think of it as like, if you want to collaborate quickly with somebody, or like if I'm just experimenting with like a multiplayer game, just when we were like testing the Firestore integration, right? I'd be like, oh, I'm sharing this game. Can somebody play it with me so I can see how the Firestore integration is working? That will be, that'll be using the same backend.
Gotcha.
But
and
people
I know a cloud. Ooh.
Sorry, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I know what Cloud Run is, but would you mind explaining what it is to Peter?
Oh yes,
Does
please.
anyone actually have a better feel of what Cloud Run is? I don't want to butcher it.
I'd be happy to walk through Cloud Run, but I will remind Noe that Peter is very clear that kindness is an expectation of this call. So
I just want to make sure Peter's got up to speed.
I'm taking notes.
So Cloud Run is essentially somewhere where you can deploy your applications, and it has all of the bells and whistles of almost everything you could want in a serverless environment. So for those who are familiar with Kubernetes and containers, the idea is you can just give it a container and it will deploy it. And you can set limits like, hey, I'm worried that we might have too much traffic and I don't want to pay for that. I'd like us to max out at like 10 instances. The default is 100. You could max it out at 1. You could also set a min instances because people are worried about something called cold starts where your application would shut down. So if you set your minimum number of instances to 1, that would make it so that it never goes below that. But it's a really terrific tool. Happy to talk more about Cloud Run in depth, but I don't want to steal Melissa's time talking about what we're doing today, which is the Firebase integration.
All good. And I just wanted to show that one that we published live together, the like reading tracker app, that one's already published to Cloud Run and ready to go here.
That looks great.
Cool.
Did it also build the landing page?
What was that?
So did it also build the landing page?
Oh yeah, it also built a landing page. I guess I skipped it because I was already signed in. Actually, we should double check here. Let me see here. There you go. I can sign in, and like if you're familiar with just like the the pains and troubles of auth at times too. Like keeping your authorized domains like straight can also be really annoying. But with the integrated like publish to Cloud Run and AI Studio, you can see I didn't have to make any updates to any like authorized domains list or anything. Sign-in work, Google sign-in worked immediately for me. Also on the first go.
That's perfect. So I've got two more questions there. So, and the one is about collaborating. So you said, you can use the share feature to collaborate with another person. So I just wanted to make sure that I understand correctly. So if you build your app and, let's take this reading tracker, and then you share it with another person.
Yeah.
So they will be able to see the source code, but can they make changes to the source code? And you will be able to see those changes as well.
Yeah, that is a good question. There is no collaborative editing at the moment, but they will be able to see, like, as the code evolves, I believe, those changes. But yeah, there's no like live multi-editing. I think this is a thing the AI Studio team knows about, cares about. But yeah, it doesn't exist today. So that version of like sharing and collaboration, not quite here and ready for us yet.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, so if you do make changes to your app and you have a published version of the application, and then you want those changes to be available to the public, you will have to do a redeploy, right? To
republish.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, you would. Yeah. So this is not automatically pushing anything public for you. Just push this republish button whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Cool.
Melissa, since we're getting a lot of questions about that, that seems like the natural follow-up is like, well, here we've got something that we wanted to change about our app. We want it to be slightly different. So if we could go back to the streak count, maybe that's like the bug we zoom in on and say like, so first things first, I want to reiterate, this is the best case scenario, which is it doesn't have all of the features, but it is totally functioning. Yeah. So just to hit on a few things, because I can tell we have like a lot of software engineers in the chat because they're asking questions that are not, someone totally new to software development, but the fundamentals still apply. So some of the things I really like about this is auth is built in right away. I've had so many people build like applications that are like, oh, this is a 50,000 line application, and now I just want to add auth. And it's like, good luck. So I love that this is built in right away. And then here, like, because we took a small step and we got something working, we can now make progress. The other thing I've been telling folks a lot lately is to commit often. And that's been something that I've told people for forever, even before AI was editing things. But now it seems like AI can take things in a completely different direction. I saw something that I hadn't seen before in that nav bar up top, which was versions. Can you talk us through, do you know what the versions are? And then if we do want to push this up to GitHub, can you walk us through that?
Yeah, that's a really, definitely on the GitHub. The versions, honestly, I don't look at this UI a whole lot, but if I understand it correctly though, it looks like it is just showing me like the snapshotting. So when it comes to like committing often, to an extent that's already done for you. So if you like look at the end of any of these like sections in the chat, you'll see this like checkpoint indicator. What this is doing is automatically basically snapshotting your code. And you can see that there is sometimes you can find a like revert button. To be honest, I don't actually know in which cases it's like not available to the store back. Maybe because the agent is running. We can double check that once it's not running. But yeah, this is basically the gradual committing, right? And this looks like it reflects every time that like I started, like basically each agent turn that like I started as a user. So I imagine. Yeah, maybe it's because the agent's working. I actually am not quite sure. But then it looks like you could restore it from that point. But yeah, we'll see when this agent turn is done. But I can happily show you GitHub as well.
Yeah, could you share that? We've gotten a few questions in the chat, if that's okay.
Oh, go for it.
Oh, I was saying yes. Can you share that? I don't know if
Sorry. I thought you said she said we're gonna like answer more questions. I'm like, oh sure, no problem. Okay. I might have to just change my window, but give me one moment and I will be all caught up here.
Oops.
Window. switch my window over. Let me move y'all.
So while we're waiting for Melissa to find the GitHub window, I can share a story. So I built an app for my dad because he said, hey, I've been trying to use Gemini to extract stamps from catalogs, and those stamps that he's talking about are like those round circles that you stamp on a letter. And apparently you can collect them. And then he was trying to use Gemini, and it didn't quite work. And then I tried it myself, and it is not good at that. So Nano Banana is great at generating stuff, but not at detecting those intricate things. And then I built an application using AI Studio for him. And that was before we had the Firebase support. And it took quite a couple of turns, and I did exactly what we were talking through, right? So in the beginning, I shared the application with him, and then I deployed it to Cloud Run because that would be more persistent, and he could use it even a couple of days after I uploaded the latest change and all of that. And then every time he had a new idea or something didn't quite work as he was hoping for, then he would send me a text message. And I would just take that text message, put it into the chat box in AI Studio and say, this is what my dad said. Can you please fix it? And then it was like, of course. And then bum, 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 bum. And then, you have the change right there. So I felt like the intermediary right there. And, I thought, I could have given the app to my dad and, just said, well, you can fix it yourself. But it was a nice experience. And he was very grateful in the end. And he gave me a nice gift as a thank you.
Was it a stamp?
No, it was a toolbox.
No.
It was a toolbox that I was talking about for physical tools, not software tools.
So which this is a non sequitur, but which stamp was it? The stamp or the postage stamp?
You hammer the thing on the stamp.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I can show it. I can pull it up, and then I'll show it after we've let Melissa do her thing.
Yeah. That'd be great.
People need to know. Okay, thank you for giving me a second to pull up the window. Okay, so this is another app I have. I'll leave the reveal of the app for later, but just to call out what this app has been paused situation is, this is totally normal. This is an app that I haven't been working on since earlier this morning. So if this environment has been idling for a while, at some point it'll just pause, kind of maybe reclaim some resources or something. But if I reload the app, I'll get everything back, have my environment back up and running so that I see my preview, and it's no big deal. So this is super normal. But what I've done in this one is I have this one integrated in GitHub. So this one's already set up because otherwise you'd be seeing 10 minutes of me just logging into stuff. But the sign-in is very, very simple. So you sign into GitHub, it'll install in AI Studio into your GitHub account. You are in control of what permissions AI Studio has. It will request certain permissions to see all your commits and stuff. You can let it have access to all your repositories, just some of it. That is within your control. And then when you have things to commit, you will see them appear here. So I should probably just get this started with something new to commit. So here is a brick building game that I have, which was very fun. Let's just make it have let's just make a simple change so we could get something quick. Change the name of the app to, what should we call the app?
Brick Designer.
Brick Designer. Love it.
I'm so creative. This is why I get invited.
Just want something simple, hopefully something that the agent will do fairly quickly. And so then once we have some changes here, hopefully they'll appear so that there are things that I can offer to commit. But to move forward a little bit and show you, so this is commits that I made a couple hours ago. I think I only did two or three commits. So this is from AI Studio. It allowed me to create a new repo super easily, name it, and then that was kind of all I needed to do. Let's see if this is, is this still working? Okay. We're getting there though, it's close. But what I also did that I think was interesting is so in this case, I actually made this app a Next.js app. So here was that prompt that I used if I wanted to start from scratch again. By default, you're generally going to get a React app. So I click that like settings icon. I did it real quick. So let me just do it again to make it a little easier. Up in the upper right, here there's some advanced settings stuff. So I made it a Next.js app because I happen to know that Next.js apps mean that I can deploy to Firebase app hosting, and I really like Firebase app hosting. So that brick designer change happened. Let's go back to that GitHub panel, and you can see now there's some changes that I'm able to commit here. One thing I love is you just have this like auto-generated commit message. Love
That's
it.
cool.
Fantastic. Stage and commit all changes. All right, there we go.
Well, Melissa, I'm sorry to ask you to backtrack, but we did have this question come in the chat. Somebody says, I'm asking for a Flutter or Angular app, but it starts React. Why is that? But you showed something on your screen and it disappeared.
Yeah. Great question. And
Okay.
also probably just like some good feedback, because I see how this can be non-obvious. But yeah, if you want, these are the 3 supported frameworks today: React, Next.js, and Angular. But yeah, you generally would pick them from this settings panel. But I think that's really good feedback.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, you can see how quickly you can see these, the latest commits there. This is now 4. We have some updated files. And then, because I had linked this over to app hosting, you see this? This is a new rollout in progress. So with the app hosting, like GitHub integration, one thing you have the option to do is set it up such that it auto rollouts based on any new commits that come in. I can quickly show you what that looks like, even though I had already done it here. So this is, just going to bake and do its thing. But this was really straightforward. Pick your app hosting region. In a sec, you'll be able to see, pick your GitHub account. The repo that I used was the Brick Builder repo that I had created earlier, just on main. And this is where I chose automatic rollouts on, trigger rollouts automatically whenever changes are pushed to your live branch. So let me zoom in a bit more. Hopefully that's a bit easier to see now. Yeah, on that little tiny popover. Configure your backend. I just need to create an ID for it, whatever. I'm not actually going to create this one. Associate it with a Firebase web app. You probably already have one. If this is on that same project that AI Studio has been using, all those like links to the console that I've been going to, these have all been going to that same like default Gemini project. I can use this web app. I can do another one if it matters to me. But that was all that the setup was to get this going. And so now from AI Studio, every time I have changes to commit, if I commit them, my rollout's going to happen automatically for me, which is pretty sick.
The one thing that I experienced, and I think this is correct, is you can't go the opposite way. You can't go from GitHub back into AI Studio. And I think that's an important thing just for folks to recognize before they get too deep into this. I think you can go from AI Studio to GitHub pretty easily, and you can keep building there, but you can't go the opposite direction.
I believe that is true. My knowledge is limited on what like the import story looks like. But yeah, this direction, AI Studio to GitHub, super nice.
Yeah. So back to the rollouts, maybe. So it sounded like the rollout is another way to deploy your application. So if you're making use of app hosting rollouts, does that mean that you don't need to use the redeploy? Was it called redeploy or
publish?
The feature inside AI Studio where you deploy the application. It's not called deploy.
In this case, it is completely separate. So this is where, like, it just depends on what workflow ultimately is like resonating with you. But yeah, this is separate from like that publish flow. So you can see here, like that built-in publish flow, it's still in a 0 state. There's nothing like integrated here. And then, yeah, the way that if you like this integration path, and again, this is only for Next.js apps because Next.js apps are what's supported by Firebase app hosting, then basically their rollout mechanism, your like one push rollout is really going to be the like stage and commit button, and then everything will kind of go automatically through for you. But the nice thing about Firebase app hosting, as we on Firebase know too, is like it's really nice to have kind of good support for like adding like custom domains in here pretty easily. There is one caveat that I am going to call out though, is that this is like a little bit more of like an advanced integration, I would say, getting all the way to publish. So I'm going to open the dev console now because I'm going to show you that I'm pretty sure things are not going to work exactly as I want to on the first go with this app deployed to app hosting. So if I click sign in with Google, Do you see that? We got this authorized domains error. This is the error that we don't get when you deploy with that built-in publish button in AI Studio. But this is, again, a more advanced integration. It does take more work, but this is a really easy fix. Basically what it is this URL that we have, this app hosting one, it's just not in the authorized domains list yet. So I'll show you how to do that really quickly. Go back to the console, go to Firebase Auth, settings, scroll down to authorized domains. And what I want to do is just add that URL here. And then that should be able to get us all that we need to get auth working in here.
I'm gonna slow us down one more time because I think Noe and Peter are very familiar with this flow. We've done it a whole bunch of times. But for people seeing this for the first time, essentially what this is saying is, for security reasons, we don't let any domain just go straight to your database. And here we're just adding one more domain that is allowed. So domain being what we have in the URL bar up there. And so if you add a custom domain later, so you've got mygreatwebsite.com, what you'll need to do is take that domain, add that to the list, and now that'll just be one more that you can add there. And you can do that with Cloud Run or app hosting. You can add those custom domains.
That's totally correct. And that publish button in AI Studio, that's the one that's going to be hopefully working as smoothly and automatic for you as possible. You don't have to think about any of this extra stuff. But if you do start going like the extra mile, again, with custom domains or this GitHub to app hosting path, the authorized domain won't be there for you automatically in these cases today. But I showed you how quick it was and how easy of a fix it is. So hopefully if you do run into this, you don't get too tripped up on it. It really is a quick fix.
Mm-hmm. And it also means that those two ways give you two different URLs where your application is hosted, right?
Yeah. There's nothing stopping you from doing like both versions of publishing through app hosting, through that other direct like Cloud Run one in AI Studio. Then you're why? Like then you just have, two different versions of published things that can get a little confusing. So again, it really just depends on what workflow, like if you really want a GitHub centric workflow, whatever works best for you. But I see excitingly somebody contributing here.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
But it's cool. We're seeing the real time updates. If I, wanted to improve this a little bit, I'd maybe ask the agent to like show me where Noe is as he's like going around and adding blocks or something. But yeah, just some fun stuff. So yeah, we showed like a personal app where you sign in and all your data is private. This is a version where basically like everything is public essentially. This is so cute. But yeah, the options are unlimited really.
Now I'm super curious what the data model for this is.
You can't stack blocks though. That's my one feature.
I know.
Oh,
I would have
just flat?
expected with my prompt to let it stack, but I noticed that doesn't work. So it didn't get that. It didn't get that on the first try.
I will call out though, the nice thing about having it in GitHub and the nice thing about having that version history is you have no concerns where like you can go back in and start making those changes. And if the model takes a complete left turn, you're still in a great position. I'm worried we're getting distracted here because this is so engaging that we're going to get sucked out of.
About the engaging, people are asking for the link to the app. Can you paste the link in the chat window in this thing here? I'll quickly.
Everything in my demo body is so against.
And then I'll post it. I'll post it on the stream.
Okay, sounds good. I'm having a hard time opening the chat. I might just ping it to you, Peter, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's fine.
I'm so nervous about this.
I know. I don't know, Peter. This is up to you.
Giving people free form range on a public. Okay, all right. No.
I mean, you can take it down if people do something bad, right?
Yep.
That's for next week's episode, I think.
Taking things down.
How to take down an app.
But look, you can even see here in my like development environment in AI Studio, I'm seeing the same thing. So it's all the same database. Yeah, fun stuff.
Someone is asking in the chat, is AI Studio able to memorize my preferences or styles for an app or website?
Great question. Kind of. So the way that I would do that actually is, so back in that like settings section. So this is the aistudio.google.com/apps, the builder like landing page. Up in here, there are custom system instructions that you can add. And these I think get saved like, persisted even like in different apps, different sessions. These are just like your personal settings. So yeah, you can see some examples here. Like I always want you to use emojis instead of SVG icons. Avoid using gradients. Like if you have visual style preferences, if you have maybe even code style preferences, try putting them here in custom system instructions and see if that kind of gives you what you're looking for.
Very cool.
So we have 3 different frameworks that it supports at the moment. If you asked it to build something for something that is not supported at all, for example, native Android, what would happen?
I'm guessing it's just gonna pick whichever one was selected in the settings, and
okay.
I wonder if it's smart enough to tell you like, oh, we noticed you asked for something I can't really do. We can try that now. Make me an Android like Hello World app, let's say. We can see what it
does. So if you say native to really force it.
Native Android Hello World app. Yeah, my hunch is it's gonna attempt to do something. It's going to end up with a web app, but I want to know if it tells you. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what it does. I have never actually tried this before.
I'm wondering, as like a web developer, I have no capacity to build a native Android app. So if I was asked to build a native Android app, what would I do? I'd do React Native, or like, this would be really interesting to see how it.
Probably.
We can dig in here to see what it's thinking. So
it's got a Gradle file there.
Does it?
Is it? Wow.
Yeah, I saw it.
I'm wrestling with an inherent conflict. The user requesting native Android within a decidedly web-centric environment. Is it sassy a little bit?
It's realistic. It's honest.
I have a feeling that somebody wrote an NPM package that will like compile Android.
I like that.
So like they have a Gradle file and all this other stuff to just run an Android app.
We've got 6 minutes left.
Oh, I've made a discovery. I can build Android apps here and use shell exec.
Oh no!
I don't know.
No way.
Wait, what did it do, guys?
So it's a React app, but the React app is wrapping the Android simulator.
It's dressed up as an Android app for Christmas.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, that's the model always tries to do what you ask it for, right? So they always want to do something instead of saying can't do it. Sorry.
Maybe there's a moral there for us to learn. It assumes best intent. It gives you what it knows, and it does its best.
That was very impressive. Not what I was expecting. Very cool.
Yeah,
but it was so fast too.
Yeah.
I think Melissa, do you still have the Brick app up?
I do. I'm scared to open it.
Can you show us the security rules for that?
Oh, sure. Let's look at it. Whoa! There's a lot going on. Very cool. Really pretty. Yeah, sure. Let's look at the security rules. So let me go back over to the Firestore here. This is my Brick one. And let's look at security. So you can see it just published one like version. I think these were like the default ones. Yeah, these are just kind of always going to be there as default. And this is what was written up. Is there anything you're looking for, Noe?
No, Fred just asked. He wanted to say, how is the app being secured by security rules?
Yeah, so here are some security rules, but I will say, like, feel free to. I think especially if you're security minded, that is always a very good thing in the vibe coding space. iterate on these. You look at them yourself. You can also like, sometimes what even we do is like feed these back into the model and be like, hey, can you like evaluate how good you think these are? Here are the things I'm concerned about. Can you make sure that these things are addressed? Like explain them to me. And sometimes that does a good job of like really iterating and getting down to something that really is matching your expectations. It has, you know, some knowledge to try to get a good version for you the first time. But definitely encourage like asking the agent, iterating with the agent, having them get redeployed, and making sure that these really work for you and the way that you intend to use the app. That's definitely a really great call out.
And
so I built an
also
application that generated images, and then one of the security rules was to make sure that the image size was below the maximum document size. And you know, at first I was really surprised because I was like, ooh, why would you store images in Firestore in the first place? And then I was like, well, you know, it's because we don't support storage at the moment.
Yeah. Hopefully that story gets better for you in the future.
Yeah.
but really great questions. And yeah, don't skimp on it. If you care about security, you definitely like spend the time on it. Find the tools you need. Very important.
Noe, what were you going to say? You and Peter were both fighting to ask a question at the same time.
Oh,
I think
I just wanted to call
getting
out
a user question.
Oh, okay.
Spaceman 2020 wants to say, can we give some indications of who added things, because they made art?
I know. I want that. Like, okay, can I'll put exactly that. Can we add some indication of who added which blocks? I want to be able to tell whose art is whose. I used the right whose, right?
Gemini will figure it out.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have gotten so lazy with my typing because I'm like, it'll figure it. Red squigglies show up now, and I'm like, close enough.
I'm proud of it, y'all. This is sweet. This is cool.
Yeah, very cool. My faith in humanity has been restored. I was very nervous giving this link out on a live stream, but this is going
I
pretty
should
well.
remove your faith.
Well,
then.
you know, if something would have happened, Melissa could have just nuked the collection.
That is very cool.
Are there any questions that we should address?
We got the security one. We have had a couple about Firebase Studio and the migration. I'll just say briefly, like Firebase Studio isn't going anywhere for a while. You can wait on that as some of the kinks are ironed out, as that transition improves. So if you are trying to migrate right now, you don't need to migrate right now. If you'd like to migrate right now, that process should be getting better, but there could be a couple of hiccups along the way. So do be prepared for that. If you're enjoying Firebase Studio, please feel free to stay put for a little while before completing that migration. So happy to answer questions about that, but my TLDR is, if you're happy in Firebase Studio, hang out for a little bit longer, as people like me and Melissa and Noe and Peter are forced to like go through that and work out all the kinks for you.
Right, it's not perfect, but it looks like if I hover,
Ooh.
I can see, I see Aaron, I see Zane, I see Billy, I see Richie, I see Noe's section over here. So yeah, you know, not bad for its first go. Little hard.
And that was just less than a minute implementation work, right?
That was pretty quick.
insane.
It did what I wanted to. If I wanted anything different, instructions unclear, right? But yeah, it looks like this big section over here is Billy. So thank you, Billy. This is cool. Cute.
That's
very
lovely.
cool. And you can see I made it like full screen. That's kind of a nice little this button here up on the top. For convenience for this use case.
Is there a way that we can have an agents.md file for the instructions in AI Studios? That way we could be like, hey, you know, when building an app, make sure like these values are always excluded. I don't want to know about this type of thing, or only build React spec, whatever, the one that includes the CVE, like that type of instruction. Or
I might need an assist here, because I'm worried I'm conflating AI Studio and like non-AI Studio things. So actually, I don't actually know. I don't remember. If anybody anybody else here knows, or many of our teammates in the chat know.
So, Richie and Jess have been saving us a couple of times in the chat. They might chime in on that one. But I think the answer I would go back to is what Melissa showed earlier, which is go to the systems instructions and put those details in there. It's not an agents.md file necessarily, so it's not the exact thing you might be looking for, but you can put similar instructions that the AI can pick up on within that. But that would apply to all of your projects, so I suppose there's a trade-off there.
Yeah. You would just have to be remembering to like copy and paste or like delete those like custom system instructions in your settings, because otherwise they're persisting constantly. But yeah, if you remember to manually like change them for every app or whatever, maybe that would get us to where you're trying to go. But yeah, I don't want to also say firm no, because I actually can't remember where we are with that.
Yeah. These are great. I'm always so impressed by the questions and the audience that we have here. And this is really terrific.
That was awesome.
Noe, Peter, anything
else? There was one thing that I thought is worth saying as well, right? So we've been saying this a couple of times, not on the stream, but elsewhere, that we want to meet developers and builders where they are. And this is why we've got different tools and surfaces to work with those tools, right? So this tool here is something that works in your browser, and it's super convenient because you can use it almost anywhere where you've got the browser. And you don't have to set up a development environment and manage that. So just go to your browser and boom, it works. So I've used it on the phone even, and that's wild if you ask me. But sometimes you want to have more power, more control. You want to be able to connect to other things. And that is why sometimes you want to have the full control over a development environment like Antigravity, for example, right? Or you might even want to use your own development environment, right? So I'm an iOS developer, so there are times when I want to use Xcode, and then my tool of choice is something like Gemini CLI, because then I can tap into Gemini and be in Xcode at the same time, or go into Xcode whenever I need it, right, to do some of the fancy things that you can do much easier in an IDE. And that is something I feel is important for people to understand. Why do we have all those different tools? It is because you've got different needs as a developer, as a builder. It's very much the same when you're doing any sort of craft around the house. You will use a hammer, you will use a scissors, you will use pliers, whatever. You will use the right tool for the job. I mean, you could probably hammer in a nail with your screwdriver, but it's not very efficient.
What are you supposed to use?
It's called
bare hand.
Hammer. You can't touch this.
I thought hammer was like stop, hammer time, or something like that, right? Yeah, it's a dance.
Well, this was lovely. Noe, Peter, any last questions you want to either grill me or Melissa with before we disappear into the ether?
When can we have you on the next time? Because people seem to be loving it.
This is a lot of fun. Melissa, thank you so much for sharing this with us. These demos are absolutely phenomenal. The brick designer is something really cool that I didn't see it until you shared it today. This is really lovely.
Yeah, that went as well as I could have hoped. And sorry community for doubting you for a second there, but public live streams are just a little scary. But no, we'll be back. We're just a ping away. So holler at us.
Nice. All right.
Can you share this on like the AI Studio gallery or something, so that way I can remix it for my child?
Well, we know people, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's really fun. Yeah. So Luke, Melissa, thanks for coming on. I'm sure there will be future launches where we will definitely want to invite you back on. And so I'm really looking forward to that. And I know that people, from what they said on the live stream, they are looking forward to that as well. So thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you.
And with that, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We have more streams coming up, and we will publish them on our social channels. So stay tuned on LinkedIn, on X, on... We've got a Blue Sky account as well. So follow us on Blue Sky if you want. And if you've got any, where can people go if they have feedback? That's always a good question. Melissa.
Ooh, good question. There's so many places. Help. There's a lot.
So I can help. If you have any direct feedback, x.com/Luke Schlangen is usually where I
Yeah, that's the place to go. That's the place to go. There are like different feedback mechanisms within the different tools. Those are probably the most direct route. But otherwise, yeah, we are findable online. Please let us know, and we do genuinely want to help and make these tools better. So, yeah, happy to reach out. Happy to be reached out to.
You know, we're looking out everywhere. There's like in product kind of like bug reporting and like feedback buttons that you'll look into. We do read those. Of course, it's going through actual support, but then we also are constantly looking at like Reddit and Twitter and all that. And, you know, some of those are more official than others and whatever. But we keep an eye out everywhere. So if you find a way to reach us, we will hopefully have a way to see that in return.
Great. That's good to hear. All right. Luke, Melissa, thanks so much. And we will see you all on the next one. Bye-bye.